Hello, everybody. I'll tell you what. This morning I woke up and I thought, are we going to see some sun today? Because where I live in Devon, you always guarantee, when you look out a window, early in the morning, all you can hear is rain or um, or you might get a bit of sun coming through the window. But oh no, I looked at the window this morning when I came out of the shower, and guess what? It was raining and everything. But then all of a sudden, I had a bit of sun come through my window, and I thought, oh well, that's it. Anyway, folks, also I still haven't got my hairdresser to come around and see me, so I do brush my hair and comb my hair and everything, but I'm still waiting for the old hairdresser.
Lockdown hair.
Lockdown hair, that's it. So anyway, I've got a guest this morning called Joe. Hello, Joe. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Are you well?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes. Tell everybody about you and what you do. And
Okay. Firstly, my most important job is I'm a mum. I've got 12-year-old twin boys. We live in London, and just referring to your thing about the weather, it's raining here a lot, and it hasn't stopped since I got up this morning. I work from home as a business consultant. I help people with tools and email marketing and GDPR and a range of things around that. And yeah, I'm kind of getting a bit fed up of being stuck indoors with lockdown now.
yeah, I bet you are. Yeah. When you kind of like open, let's get on to what you actually do.
Yeah.
When you kind of if someone wants to start a business up, say like
Yeah.
I wanted to start a business up.
Yeah.
Now, how do one go about it?
So as a sole trader, it's very simple. You go on the HMRC website, you register as a sole trader. You then need to get yourself some professional indemnity insurance, and you need to set up a bank account. Now, as a sole trader, you are not legally required to have a business bank account, but I always recommend a separate account to keep your business money separate to your personal money.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, you then need to look at what personal data that you are storing and looking after in your business for your customers and prospects. So you might need to register with the ICO as a data controller. But
Right.
that's it. To get started, that's it.
I know because when I started my cleaning company about 10 years ago, I had a cleaning company before I came ill. And I find it really tough because what happened was I started advertising first, going on to Yale.com.
Mm-hmm.
Then the local press. Then it was like radio. But what I kind of like made a mistake with was that I never kind of registered with Inland Revenue or
Yeah.
the tax people. And that's
Yeah.
the worst mistake you do because
Yeah.
when you're filling in your I can't remember what they call it. Is it P60? Is it the
P60 is what your employer gives you. It's your tax return.
yeah, your tax return. When I was getting my tax returns, I was thinking, hang on for a second, I didn't do no accounts, and that's very important. You must kind of like keep. We had one bank account for our business, we had another account for our personal, and the trouble is when you kind of like get all this money, when you get the money coming in and everything, you've got to make sure that that money actually goes into your bank account, your work bank account, not
Yeah.
into your personal bank account.
And you have to keep really good records. And to start off with, a spreadsheet is fine. And have one sheet where you write all your outgoings, your bills, your expenses for the business, and then another spreadsheet in the same workbook that tells you all of your incoming. and all the invoices you've raised. And that's, to start off with, that is absolutely the
Crucial.
minimum that you need to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah. And it's crucial too, isn't it? It's
Oh,
really, yeah, you've got to.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I've,
absolutely.
yeah. I've learnt my lesson because when I first started business, I was getting all these invoices and I was there going, right, that goes in the drawer, that goes in the drawer. But I was naive, what it's
Mm.
like. I thought I started business up. Then next minute, a company called Business Links got in contact with me,
Yeah.
and I said, "Look, please help me. I haven't got a clue." And they sent me on these courses and everything I was doing. And in the end, I was having files for this, files for that, files
Yeah.
for this.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, what I do now is I use something called QuickBooks, and all my invoices go out to them. And I've got this great little app on my phone. So although I'm not going out right now, but if I was going out in the distance before COVID,
Mm.
and I was at a meeting, if I bought coffee, I would snap a picture of the receipt on my phone. It put it straight into QuickBooks, and then I could match it to my expenditure in QuickBooks, and it was all sorted.
Right. Okay.
And then
Okay.
I could shred the receipt because I didn't need to keep the actual physical receipt because I had it in QuickBooks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good idea, isn't it? That's a really good idea.
Yep. You get rid of all your paper. You know that you've got your receipts there. So when you give all your accounts to your accountant, or you come to do your own tax return, depending on what you do, you will be able to have everything there, and you're not rushing around at the end of the year in a hurry at the last minute trying to do things.
I know because when I used to run my cleaning company, I used to when I did well. I did really well, and when I had all this money coming in, I thought, oh, good, you know,
Yeah.
come on, darling, let's to my wife, let's go out for a meal and all that lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the trouble is, it's okay doing that, but at the end of the day, it was like, oh, hang on for a second, I got to pay my tax, I got to pay everything else, pay my transport. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just going over my head, and I needed a lot of help and guidance, which I really made a mistake on.
Yeah. Oh, your phone's going.
No, it's okay now. It's sorry about that.
It's
It's
all
doing.
right.
Yeah. So when I had my business, I kind of like I've got everything. I was really confused with my business. Really
Mm.
confused. I can kind of like but in the end, I got all the receipts, I got all the paperwork, contracts and everything, and I start putting it on computer and the trouble is I always made sure that I saved the disk, just in case if it came off the computer, you know.
Yep.
But luckily we did it. But some people, when they go into business, they think, oh, it's easy. You just make some money and that's easy. What do you say to people who's starting up a business?
It's a challenge, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. There are times when it feels like I would be better off in a job,
Yeah,
because if you're in a PAYE job, you do your 20 or 30 or 40 hours a week. You pick up your paycheck,
that's it.
and you don't have any of these other things to think about.
Yeah,
As a self-employed business owner, forgetting COVID, because that's an extreme situation, but you are responsible for all the marketing, all the promotion, all of the customer management, doing the work unless you're getting a team on board. Um, and you don't do 40 hours a week,
you do
and you
more than
don't
that.
get, yeah, and you're not guaranteed the £2,000 or the grand or whatever it is that your salary is, and it might take you some time to get to that.
Yeah,
So you have to be really prepared to graft, and you have to be quite resilient, because you have to take the difficult days alongside the great days and the good days, um, and you just have to keep going.
Mm.
You know, it when it's good, it's amazing. When it's not good, it's really tough, because you've still got to get out of bed. You've still got to do it, because if you don't do it, you don't get paid.
That's it, yeah. I remember when we used to work around about like 2 o'clock in the morning, because we used to do all the
Yeah,
nightclubs.
yeah,
2 o'clock in the morning, and then we used to go on to around about 12 midday. We used to come home, right?
yeah,
Then come out, go out again about 4 o'clock in the evening to do all these office cleaning, and we start again. You know, it's like
yeah,
around the clock. And
yeah.
the trouble is also is what people don't realise, Joe, is that when you do all these jobs, sometimes 28 days, when you say when you invoice somebody for 28 days or something like that, right? Don't guarantee your money on the 28th day.
Oh, I never go 28 days.
Never,
My
never.
my invoice terms are 7 days, and if you haven't paid me by day 8, I'm on the phone and I want my money.
Mm, mm,
And you know, I chase and chase till I get it.
yeah, yeah,
And there are times when I have, based on my business, I charge 50% up front.
yeah. You got to, ain't you? You got to.
Yeah,
Because in my business, when I used to have it, I used to kind of like invoice every 28 days.
right.
And sometimes, right, they never used to pay me. They used to kind of like, I used to say, right, here's the invoice. Can you pay me please on the 28th? And I used to go there, and it's usually like a check they give me, or they put it in my bank. And
Hmm.
sometimes, I could be waiting for ages for it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Then I send reminders out and things like that. And sometimes I used to have to go there and say to them, look, can you write me a check out? Because, this is the income that we get, I started off with like 3 contracts, and it wasn't very much. But to them, it wasn't very much. But to me,
yeah,
it's my living, you know what I mean?
yeah. I do know what you mean.
And I had to pay bills, and in the end, we took it down to around about 14 days in the end, because
Yeah,
it was just getting bad.
yeah,
So when you kind of like with your invoicing,
yeah.
because many people go into business and they're thinking, yeah, this is all going to be easy and everything. What do you suggest people to do about invoicing?
From what respect?
From about getting paid?
Okay, so the first thing before you even raise an invoice is you have to have a contract.
Yeah.
And the purpose of the contract is to set out the terms that you've agreed to work under. And those terms might be slightly different from client to client, depending on the type of work you're doing, the timeline, and all of these kinds of things. So you do all of that, get that signed, and then you invoice according to the terms in your contract. Now, that could be a repeat invoice that automatically gets sent on the first of the month for a fixed fee. It could be an hourly rate, and you put a timesheet in saying how many hours your team have worked for that client, at what rate. But then once you've raised the invoice, if you're using something like QuickBooks, you can actually automate a reminder. So what happens in some systems is, if you raise your invoice on the first of the month and it's due for payment by the 7th of the month at the latest, if you haven't been paid on the 8th, it will automatically send the customer an email saying, in a very nice way, And you write it really nicely, and you just say the invoice number ABC for £400 or £2, whatever, was due yesterday. Is there a problem paying it? Please make payment, etc. And there is a process to go through, which is a credit control process that you can follow.
Right.
And if you are still not getting paid for whatever reason, you can either go to the small claims court, or you can bring in a professional to support you to get the money. But you need to have a contract in place, and make sure it's a signed contract and you are both fully aware, both parties are fully aware of the terms.
Yeah, definitely. That's what you need to go into self-employment. You
Yeah.
need to have a contract, because if you don't have the contract, they could kind of like get rid of you, or they don't.
The contract that helps to manage the expectations, and it manages your relationships while you're still friends. So that if something goes wrong,
Yeah.
then you can refer back without any emotion and say, this is the contract we agreed when we were friends, when things were great. And I have delivered according to point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the contract, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then if they want to say something different, they have to refer back to those terms. And they have to say, well, okay, I don't believe that you've delivered under term 1 because, and that's where the conversation, and it takes all the human emotion and the anger because it's factual. And also then, if there are problems and you need to go to business mitigation, or you need to go to a small claims court because of an unpaid bill, you can go to them and say, this is the contract. This is what I promised I would deliver based on the contract. This is what I delivered. This is how I delivered it. This is what they've got.
The trouble is, though, these days, it's not even worth going to small claims court, is it? Because
you can do it all online. You fill the form in online, do it all online.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say, Joe, sometimes if it invoices for like 250 quid, I know it's money.
Yeah.
But is it worth going to a small claims court for £250?
Yes, absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely it is. There is a point where you balance out the cost of going to the small claims court versus the size of the invoice versus how much stress, anguish, and basic frustration it's causing you.
Yeah.
And there comes a point where you might say, all right, I've got to write this off. But you learn the lesson and it never happens again.
Of course, yeah. I mentioned that because some people probably out there thinking, well, if someone only owes me 250 quid, is it worth me going to small claims court?
Well, if it's going to cost you £300 to go to small claims court and your bill is that you're chasing is £250, no, it isn't. But you might decide it is because there's a principle or there's something else that's driving that, and it's
I would
not.
do it, yeah.
But it's something that you have to decide for yourself.
Yeah.
But I do advocate chasing.
Yeah.
For what's right.
Yeah.
Especially if you've done the work and delivered to the standard required.
Because I would do it. I would chase it. I would take them to small claims court, because what I would do is I'd put the costs on top.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you can do in some cases. Yeah, you need to read the proper documentation, and I'm not 100% familiar with those processes, but yeah, read the documentation, do it online, and you don't always need a solicitor to handle these things, so you can do it yourself.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. What Also, so when you kind of like start your business up and you kind of like do everything and you're going through, get to accountant and sorting out all your kind of like employers. Now let's get to the employees,
Right.
right? Now, employees must have contracts, yes,
Yes.
right? So that's our next step. So if someone's thinking about kind of like starting their own business, employing
Yep.
around about like say over 5 employees,
Yep.
by law they must have is it a writ? It's either a written or a
Any
printed.
any any employee that my understanding is, and I'm not a HR expert, but my understanding is that any employee must have a contract that outlines the expectations, how many hours they will work, what their rate of pay is, how often they will be paid, what method of payment, and various other contractual arrangements around their job. And
Yeah.
my personal feeling is if I ever get to the point where I'm going to employ somebody as an employee, then I will be getting a HR specialist to advise me on getting the right contract, because it is very easy with PAYE and employees to get this wrong.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And the trouble is, and when you come into the a point where you start paying them, you've
Yeah.
got to work out all the tax and
Yeah.
national insurance, and that is very difficult for people to start off with, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah. Well, another reason why I use QuickBooks is because I've got access to a payroll in there, which means that I can run a payroll in there. And because it's only me, I can just run it for myself. If I was having a lot of people in my business, I would get somebody else to do that for me.
Yeah,
My my biggest recommendation to anybody running a business is to invest in the specialist expertise that you need, because if you get it wrong, the fines could be, or the penalties for whatever that is, could be extensive. And also, there's a reputational damage to your business.
yeah, because it goes against your business.
Well, also, it's things like if you get your GDPR wrong and you're investigated by the ICO and you get a penalty, they put your name on the website.
Do they?
Yes, because they list all the penalty action that they have taken and what the case is. So any of your clients can go to the ICO just to have a look and do their due diligence to see what you've been doing in your business.
Gosh.
The same way as, you can look up on Companies House to find out if there's anything I need to know about your business before I start working with you. It's part of the due diligence process. And it's quite standard for businesses to do their research before they sign a contract.
Yeah, yeah. And also, it's better when you do that, and it's better to go to company's house really to register your business as well, isn't it?
Well, that's if you're going to be a limited company. And if you are considering becoming a limited company, you really do need specialist advice, because there are lots of different rules around running a limited company versus being sole trader.
Yeah. Sorry about this phone here. It's a
It
bit.
doesn't matter.
Sorry about that.
It's all
But
right.
the trouble is, you see, when I was self-employed, I employed around about over what was it about 20 people in the end. And the trouble is, I couldn't even do the payroll. I couldn't even do it. So my accountant said, "I tell you what, we'll take over the payroll." And I tell you what, thank God he did, because it was giving me an headache.
Yep.
It was really giving me an headache. And the trouble is, you see, when we go into business, we've got to be so clever of what we're doing and we go on these courses, go on courses and everything. Don't rush into business just like that because it's really hard, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah. Oh, it is. And the thing is, you need to remember that you cannot be an expert in every single thing in your business, right? So you need to work out your what bits you are an expert at and what bits you need more help with.
Mm,
And those bits that you don't understand, those bits you need help with, get people to help you.
yeah,
Don't struggle on, on yourself, because what happens is, let's just say we're talking about payroll. If you're not an expert, if you're not comfortable doing it, if you don't know what you're doing, A, you can get it wrong, B, you get stressed, and C, it will take you a lot longer than it would an expert. So if you hire an expert, and you don't have to take everybody on PAYE, you could just pay a contractor or your accountant once a month for 2 hours to do it for you,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And what that does is, first of all, you've no longer got that stressful task that you really don't look forward to, you avoid, you don't like. That frees up time, but it also frees up headspace.
mm,
And when you free up the headspace, you have got time to focus on doing the things that you're brilliant at, doing the things that nobody else in your business can do, the marketing, the talking to customers about your business, doing the business, hiring staff, supervising staff, managing staff, all of those things, depending on what your business is. So outsource is the way to go.
yeah, yeah. Joe,
Yep.
thank you very much for your time.
You are so welcome.
I'll tell you what, that is really, really good, information because, some people out there are probably thinking now about, I know we're going through bad times and everything, and people are losing their jobs. And
Yep.
when we come over this coronavirus and everything, nasty, nasty, people are probably going to self-employment.
Yep.
And that's why I asked you to come, to come on to talk, to talk and everything about it. And I hope you didn't mind because people need to know these things
Yeah. Yeah,
to go.
absolutely they do.
They really do, and to go into self-employment because please take it from me, it's not easy. It's really hard. You've got to really think about what you're doing.
Yeah. But the rewards of being self-employed um, are far outweigh
Oh
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
problems, you
Yeah,
know.
because you walk around, you're proud because you got your own business. You can say that you got your own business at the end of the day, and you got your name there. You got people who's recommended you, and you can say, look, this is my business, and so it's your baby. It's like a baby, isn't it?
It is. It
It is.
absolutely is. It's like having another child.
It is. It's like having another child. With your job, before you go,
Hmm.
how do you juggle your business with your children?
There are times when that's very challenging. And over COVID, there have been times where that has been exceptionally challenging. Um, I have never been afraid to step away from my business and give my time to my children, because ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, my first and most important job is being their mum,
Mm,
and there are times when they need me and I've stepped away. But what that means is that I'm working at 10 o'clock at night, maybe, or I'm getting up at 5 a.m. and I'm doing work before. It just varies hugely.
yeah.
Um, but it is very rewarding, because it does mean that I could take time to be with them when I need to. When
Mm,
they were younger, it meant that I could always go to an assembly. I could go to their Christmas play. I
mm,
could be at the school gate if I wanted to. I could take them to an after school activity, or they could go to a club after school, and I could pick them up from the school. I could do play dates at home with them, all sorts of different things. It's a juggle, but it's worth it.
And that's why what I want to do. That's why I want to ask you to come back sometime and talk about business and juggling your life too, because people need to know that side of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
happily.
Okay. So because we all kind of like we all can run a business, but when you've got children and when you've got family, sometimes it's so difficult to deal with the children and your family and everything, and um, and sometimes a job can take over you. Sometimes, can it? And you
Yes,
can forget about your family.
yes.
So that's what I really want to talk about next time. So thank you, Joe, for joining me.
You are most welcome. Lovely to chat to you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Joe.
All right
Thank
then.
you. Thank you.
Oh,
And that was Joe. And don't forget, guys, look her up. And very nice person to talk to. Yeah, but think about it before you go do anything about business, because business is really difficult. Anyway, see you later, guys. Bye bye.